off. My name is Ryan Jeffries, currently the CSGA president. I just finished successfully matched into a categorical anesthesia spot. And today we're having CSGA Connect event. We're going to go over letters of recommendations. We're going to talk about elective scheduling and just a general ERAS timeline. So just a real quick introduction, what is CSGA Connect? This is a student-led series where it's a safe space to ask questions and get guidance from other students and sometimes faculty and staff from RUSM or outside educators. We sometimes have program directors that come and talk to us and give us the inside scoop. So, first thing we're going to talk about is letters of recommendations. Also, before I go any further, just give you a quick outline of everything. I'm going to give a quick presentation and then we'll open it up to questions from everyone. So here we go. Letters of recommendations. These are something that everyone needs. You should be asking for these during your core rotations, and ideally, especially if it's in a specialty that you want to go into, but even if it's not, because sometimes you need other letters to go with it. You don't always need to upload for anesthesia letters of recommendations. They want to see that you're a well-rounded person outside of the field that you're trying to get into. Also, one of the best letters of recommendation that you can get is from a program director in like internal medicine, but you're interested in doing like OB-GYN, but this program director says, I want this person is amazing, they just don't want to do this specialty. That's a really good letter of recommendation to have. So you should be asking for these in your cores if you haven't already. If you're finished with your cores, think about an attending or an event where you connected really well with an attending and you developed a relationship and you think they would be able to write you a really good letter and you can reach back out to them to get it. I think that collecting these is important. You never know when you're going to need one. You can collect as many letters as you want to. You can only upload 4 per application per program, and you go in and you individually select them. So having more is not a bad thing. It's always a good thing. And let's see, you ask for them early and then you follow up when ERAS link becomes available. We'll talk about the ERAS timeline in a little bit, but in general, you'll get in, you'll get your token, and then you can start asking, you start putting the official request in to have letters uploaded. We talked a little bit about who to ask. You don't want to ask a resident to write a letter of recommendation. That's generally frowned upon. Other attendings want to know what attendings think about you who have worked with you. So think about an attending or a physician that you've worked with who can really write you a good letter of recommendation. Ask them, and ask professionally and ask early. One of the things that I did is I would ask early in the rotation, like, I need a letter of recommendation from here. What can I do to earn this letter of recommendation? I think that went really well over because it was like, I'm not just asking and expecting it. Like, I want to earn it. And what can I do to make sure that I do a good job and get to that point? Another way is to do it. I also did this. I went and did my rotation, and I just was a good rotation. I was on point there every day, working hard, and everyone noticed it. And then about halfway through, that's when I approached and said, hey, I'm looking to get a letter of recommendation because I want to do this field, and this is why I think this is a good one. And they were like, yeah, come back and talk to me in a week. And then we set up a time, we met, and then I just sent them the upload link later, and it worked out well. So like, explain. That's why the explain is there, explain what you need and provide the context, because I got a letter of recommendation from OB-GYN, even though I wanted to do anesthesia, and I got one from surgery from my core clerkships. So I thought that it would be good to have a anesthesia adjacent letter of recommendation. This is just a general comment on waiving rights in ERAS. When you upload a letter of recommendation, it asks you whether or not you want to be able to read the letter. And in general, you should waive it. Because it means that it's an honest, unbiased opinion about yourself. Sometimes, especially in medicine, you'll find out that a lot of people tell you that you're doing really good, and you feel great about it. And then later in your letter of recommendation, or um, somehow it comes out in an evaluation that you didn't hit the high marks for whatever reason, but they never gave you the feedback. That's happened to a few people that I know. They have been privy, and through the interview process, someone asked if they would want to see their standard letter of evaluation for emergency medicine, and it was not what he expected it to be, because he was told that he was amazing. They were like, yeah, we'd love to have you as a resident, and then the letter didn't reflect that. So sometimes that happens. So waiving the rights just means that it's an unbiased letter. Some people in other countries, they will like have to upload the letter themselves, and you can't click the waive the rights. That's another problem that I've heard people come into. This is a big question that I get all the time, is like, what's appropriate on following up on letters of recommendation? What's a good time frame for it? How to be professional about it? So it says 2 to 4 weeks here. I would say just really stick around the 4 weeks. So ask, and then about a month later, follow back up and say, hey, I'm just following up on my letter of recommendation, and be polite, show appreciation, and include the link again, the upload link again. That is a separate email that goes out. So I would send an email and then follow it up with the ERS link like immediately after, so that both emails are up in their inbox again. So. And then once it is uploaded to ERS, it's always good for them to follow up with a thank you message. Say, hey, thanks for uploading the letter, because a lot of these people who write you letters are invested and want to see where you end up. The next one, we're going to talk about electives at Ross. So at Ross, there are 3 types of electives. You can do what's called an affiliated elective. You can do an affiliated elective where you apply directly to the hospital, and you can do a non-affiliated elective. So we'll start with the affiliated elective. You schedule these through MyRoss. There's a video on rusmclinical.com that shows you exactly where to go, how to click to get to it, what to do to schedule your electives. It does it much better than I can explain, so I'm just going to refer you there. Then we'll talk about the affiliated hospitals that you apply directly to. These are hospitals that Ross maintains an affiliation agreement with, but they don't let Ross schedule their electives for them. Some places are like Altman in Ohio. There's Danbury in Connecticut. I want to say there's like 16 in total. I think they're all listed in the elective guide, which is also on the rusmclinical.com website. You can go there and find the elective guide. Little caveat about that is maintained by Ross. That's a newer thing. They used to not give us anything, so that's something that we got put in for us. The downside is they're only going to update it once a year, probably every year around June when the electives open up. That's when the scheduling portal opens up at Ross, so that's probably when they're going to update this elective guide. For the hospitals that you apply directly to in the non-affiliate, that's kind of up to you for you to research, reach out to them, see what electives that they offer to you guys. And then you need to inquire and see what you need to do to apply for it. Some places like Cleveland Clinic, Florida, they're a hybrid one. They let some electives be scheduled by Ross and some they do themselves. So they have an application process that you have to fill out a few months in advance. It's on a rolling timeline. Other ones are a few months out, but you just have to message the coordinator, and they'll tell you exactly when to apply and when to check back with them. The non-affiliate one, this is the hardest one to do. It's time consuming from Ross's point. I feel like Ross is understaffed in this department, and they're currently telling me it takes 90 days in advance to get everything done. I've heard some people that it takes even longer. So my advice is to start really early. If you want to do a non-affiliate rotation, start reaching out, 4 or 5 months in advance. sometimes, I think when I was going through it, I was about halfway through my course, and I started reaching out to some non-affiliates to say like, hey, when do you guys start scheduling? When do I need to check back? And they'll tell you what month to check back in according to when you want to do the rotation, right? So let's see. I think I talked about these. Refer to the elective guide, and also on the website, there's a list of affiliated hospitals that I kind of curated, and it does show what they offer, but I think everything is in the elective guide as well. There is a drop deadline that Ross maintains. It's a 45-day drop before your start date, and if you try to drop an elective before then, you can be charged. It's a fee. It's like a $2,500 fee. Keep that in mind when you're arranging your schedule and when you want to move things around, because sometimes it can be costly. So that's why I say to plan early and stay organized when it comes to your electives. And let's see, that's it about the electives. I can do some demonstrations at the end if anyone still has questions about electives. We'll talk a little bit about ERAS. So for the 2026 cycle, in June, I think it's like early June, early mid-June, it will officially begin to where students can purchase your ERAS token. I want to say it's like $165. We have to purchase it. US students, their schools purchase it, but we have to purchase it because we're an international school, and the AAMC doesn't allow international schools to partake in the ERAS platform. So all IMGs have to purchase their token themselves. It also means that Ross doesn't have access to your application. They can't see what you put on it. They can't access it. They don't get information early. So normal US schools during match week, they find out where their students matched the day before so they can do the letter opening ceremonies. And international schools can't do that. Here's a little month by month tip here. So in April, that's when you kind of want to be having your planning your electives for the rest of the year. This is a little off because we should be doing it earlier than that. You need to know that any elective that's after July 1st will not show up on your MSPE as far as comments go, grades, anything like that will not show up. I do think that they can see what you're scheduled for if you're scheduled for it before your MSPE is uploaded. But if you're taking something in September and they won't see the comment or the grade from it. So if you want to have your MSPE show that you did a sub-I in whatever you wanted to do, try to plan it so that you do it before. If it's not possible, it's not the end of the world. There's plenty of people who go through it and they're not able to do the sub-I, but they can see that you're scheduled for it later. You want to, send out your kind of finalize who you're going to ask your letter to recommendations from. All right, in May, should be starting to prepare your personal statement. You should have a CV that's written up too, just because it's going to be easier to transfer all that information over to ERAS. That's what ERAS is. It's an application for a job, and if you have your CV made up, it's just easier to move it over. So in June, like I said, that's when ERAS opens up. You can purchase the token. It opens up mid-June, early mid-June for US students, and then international students get access later. So we're actually like mid to late June. And then from then on, the application's open. You're just building your application. You're fine-tuning your personal statement. You're putting in your noteworthy characteristics. Well, I'm sorry, noteworthy characteristics are part of your MSPE. You're putting in your experiences. That's what I wanted to say. Putting in your experiences and telling them which ones are important to you and why. Just a little thing that you type up in the application. Trying to think what else. And then once you get comfortable with it, you can submit it. It doesn't matter when you submit it, from when it opens to when the programs get access. It doesn't matter, as long as you make the timeline, everything will be available to the programs that access the system. So it's like late September, I want to say like the 25th or something, that the programs get access to the system. And so they access it and they download the data from the application system. If your application is not complete, meaning that it's missing a step score, it's missing a letter of recommendation that they require. Some specialties say you need 3 letters. 2 of them have to be from an anesthesiologist or emergency med, for example. So if you upload it without one of those, there are filters that may screen your application out. So what does that mean moving forward? You would have to then reach out to the programs individually and say, hey, I've uploaded it. Just want to let you know. So it's important to have it ready to go and finished before the deadline. So what about step 2 in all this mess? There's not really a quote unquote deadline where they will not let you take step 2. If you don't hit it, you can always sit for step 2. There is a deadline, a soft like deadline, just a date to be aware of, that I want to say it's like August 21st, that if you take it, we'll say mid-August, if you take it after mid-August, there's not a guarantee that it will make it to your application on time before it opens for the programs to access the information. There are plenty of people who apply, take the test a little later, upload their score, and still get interviews and still match. What I'm saying is just to make you the most competitive and the most ready to go right off the bat when the application is open. So keep that in mind. And then that's really all I wanted to talk about. And then I'm going to open it up for questions for you guys. And just a reminder, this is all going to be recorded and posted on the website. And of course, anyone who's watching this on the website who has questions can be able to reach out to me or to the CSGA, whichever one you feel comfortable with. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, open it up for questions. You can either put it in the chat or you can just raise your hand, unmute, and talk, whichever you guys prefer. Go ahead. I see we have a hand up.
So if you go to a non-affiliated hospital, does Ross cover it, or do student loans cover that, or is that something you have to pay for out of pocket?
In my experience, that depends on which hospital you go to, like whether or not they charge an amount that is obscene, I guess I would say. I'm thinking about Yale. Yale charges a lot, and Ross doesn't cover that. I did 2 non-affiliate rotations. Sorry, I did 1 non-affiliate rotation. I did not get charged anything for it. I didn't get charged anything extra. I know a lot of my friends who did a couple non-affiliates, they didn't get charged anything extra. And then I know some people who did non-affiliates that did get charged extra. So it's something you can ask the hospital. It's just dependent on where they go and what's in the contract with the hospital. That's a good question. We got a question in the chat that says, is the elective portal only open in June, or does it stay open for a couple months? So I thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't do a really good job of explaining what the elective portal is. Every June it resets, meaning that all the current available slots for the year are refreshed in it. It opens up, I think in the middle of June. It goes by seniority. So if you're in your later semesters, you get priority to pick what you need to finish out all of your requirements. And then it's based off of clinical weeks completed. So it does quote unquote open to where it refreshes. After that, it's like a week-ish, 2 weeks maybe. After that, then the portal is open year-round. So you can just keep changing things, you can keep adding, dropping. A really, really important thing that I just remembered about the elective portal in my Ross. So If you are scheduling your electives and it's during the June season when it reopened, when it's your time, you have like 2 days to schedule your electives before it opens to the next group of students. If you make a mistake and you add something you didn't want to go to, you cannot drop it. If you add it, it's stuck there. And if you wanted something else, hopefully it's going to be there at the end where everyone has access to it. I've talked with Ross and tried to explain like why it's bad, why it's not good for this, but that's how it is. So you have to be very, very careful in adding the electives that you want through the portal, because it is like locked in for the duration of the initial sign up period. I ran into a situation where I was going to sign up for an elective, went to click the button, my computer lagged and like refreshed, and then I signed up for the wrong elective for it, and I had to wait, and the thing I wanted filled up. So just be careful. There's been plenty of people who make that mistake and then they're stuck in an elective they don't want. So thank you for reminding me of all that. But after it's closed for the week, it's open year round for people to schedule and add and drop. I see we have a hand up from Omar.
Oh, hi, Ryan. How do you start the ERS application? Like, how do you purchase the token, and how do you start like work in that process?
Sure, that's a good question. So to start the process, you, I think it's just the ERS. Let me see. I don't remember. You have to go through the ECFMG website, which is, it's changed. When I went through it, like it was all through Oasis, and then they put out a new website. I'll put a link in the chat for everyone just so you can have it. It's ecfmg.org, and I think you go through there, they verify that you're an actual student, and then you can purchase the token. So that should give you a good outline of what to do there. And after you purchase the token, you create an AAMC account, and then you have to load. The token is like a string of letters and numbers, and you go to your AAMC account and you attach the token to your account, which then gives you access to the system. I think did I answer everything for you, or is there anything else?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We had another question in the chat here. How many elective credits are required to graduate? So you need an elective credit. I think it's 48 electives. We have 42 weeks. Oh, I'm sorry, I have that backwards. It's 48 weeks of cores, and we have 42 weeks of electives for a total of 90 weeks of clinical clerkships. So you need 42 weeks of electives. One more question in the chat here. What's the difference between a sub-I rotation and an audition rotation? I think they're the same, in my opinion. A sub internship is an audition rotation. They have a different mindset for sub-I. It's the same mindset for audition, because you go there and they're like evaluating you for residency placement is what it's supposed to be. All right. So you go there and your schedule is going to be a little bit different from people if you go to one doing a core rotation, for example. Now everything changes so quickly in all of these places, but when I went through my cores at University of Maryland Capital Region, when we were on the cores, we did the normal schedule, which means that we'd have the weekends off. But if you were on a sub-I, you followed the senior schedule, which means that you only got 1 day off a week. So that was a difference there. Different from every hospital, but I just wanted to highlight how that is different. Real quick, answer for the next question in the chat is, what is a sub-I? It's a sub-internship, and that's what I was explaining. It's just like a little bit, they expect a little bit more from you, a little bit higher expectations for you to come in and actually manage some patients and come up with a good plan, or maybe not even a plan, be able to do your history, physical exam, interpret the lab findings, present the patient well, and maybe come up with a plan. Definitely come up with your differential diagnosis. And if you can do that, you'll be a stellar standout candidate at your sub-I. So I see Victoria has her hand up. Go ahead, Victoria.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks. I was wondering about when we sign up for electives, do we do the whole year in one go?
Yep. When the portal opens up, you can schedule your entire year out through the portal. So you need to keep that in mind too, that if you have, if you want to have a break-in, you can schedule your break-in for step 2. If you want to have a month that where you know you're going to try to fill it with a a non-affiliate, you can plan that break as well. But when the portal opens up, you can schedule it out for the entire year during that time. If there's anything you guys specifically want to see as well, I'm happy to share my screen and try to show you, what things look like. Let's see what I have.
I have a quick question. How early can you purchase a token?
I want to say so the season starts in early June. IMGs get access in mid to late June. So that is the earliest you can purchase it. If you purchase a token now, like if you were to go purchase it right now, you would have to repurchase it because technically you're purchasing a token for a different application season. So make sure that you wait until June to go purchase it. I know someone who wanted to get a head start. They purchased a token and they were like, I don't know where to register it. And then they found out that they couldn't register it in June when the season opened up because it was a token for last year. So. I see we have another hand up. Go ahead.
There is like a PDF for the elective rotations, and can you explain a little bit about like the non-AC EMG and where it has the number and like how we should avoid that, or like kind of what's the reasoning?
Yes, that's a good question. So Ross has something that's called ACGME accredited electives. There is a requirement for you to have a certain number of these electives. So I want to say it's 8 weeks of ACGME accredited electives and 10 weeks of internal or medicine electives. And the ACGME elective requirement means that it's done at a place that has a residency or fellowship or is associated with the residency or fellowship. Most of the time, the residents and fellows are there. That's really it. You can research these. You can find the numbers. They've, like I said, this elective guide is new. They have the numbers next to them, which is really important. If you want to do a non-affiliate rotation, you have to have that number and you have to submit it to them. You can find those at, let me get the website for you. Oh, it's right here. It's acgme.org. Let me just share my screen so you can see it here. So you should be able to see acgme.org, and then up in the top right-hand corner here, it says ADS, and then it says Accreditation Data System. You want to click here. Oh, that's different. Sorry, it's the wrong one. Oh, sorry, it's Institution and Program Finder. Go ADS, Institution and Program Finder, and then this is where you can search for it. So if you want to, you can search by specialty, let's say anesthesia. It doesn't play nice with Chrome. So Chrome throws it off every time. I would search for it in Safari. It works better with that. I think it's something with my cookies. I've always had problems with it working in Chrome, but that's where you go find it. That's where I found it. Did that answer everything that you needed for that, or do you have any follow-up questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Some questions in the chat. Any recommendations on how many different locations is recommended to do electives at? It's really up to you. There's I bounced around the East Coast up and down just to get the letters of recommendations that I needed to be able to dual apply. So I made sure that I could go get those before my application season. If you're only applying to one place and you've got good letters, you may only need to go away for a couple rotations, like 2 or 3. I have a friend who applied emergency medicine. I think he went to Florida once and then somewhere else once for away rotations. Everything else he did where we did our cores at the University of Maryland. So, and he matched just fine. So it's really up to you on what you want to do. I also moved around for those non-affiliate and audition rotations. One of them was an affiliated fly at the hospital audition rotation. I'm not sure if either one of those made a difference because I did not match there. But yeah. Another question in the chat. You might have hit on this already, but how many weeks of non-affiliates are you allowed to do? I think there is something that says this in the student manual, and I want to say it's 12 weeks of non-affiliates. Don't hold me to that, but I want to say it's that. I'll try to find a better answer for you here. Let's see here. No, there is a limit. I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head, and I couldn't find it quickly in the student handbook. That is something that came across. I mean, that's 3 rotations of non-affiliates. So that's a lot. That's 3 months. If you have, I would follow up that question to an email with clinical advising, just to make sure you get the right number. Let's see, we have another question from the chat. How long can you take to be on break? Does Ross place you as inactive if you take maybe a 3-month off in one go? Yes, they do mark you as inactive. Let me remember the policy correctly. If you have a longer than a 31-day break, it is considered a gap. That gap is noted on your MSPE, and you will be required to explain the gap in your education. Sometimes that's not a problem. Sometimes it is a problem, because if you just take 3 months off because you wanted to, that's not going to look well. But if you took, a month off or a month and a half off to study for step 2, and then you also got married after that, and you took the rest of the time off for that, that's not going to be a problem. If you have these life events that you're like, yeah, I had this, I had to take some time off, not that big of a deal. So you have to be careful on when you schedule some things. There are some places that begin their electives at a weird time as well. One of the affiliated places in Michigan, which I think is like Providence, they begin their elective rotations at the end of the month. Ross begins their elective rotations on the first Monday of the first full week of the month. So if the month begins on a Tuesday, you have that week off because you won't begin your electives on that one. You'll begin it on the following Monday. So there are some weeks of vacation that are built into the just calendar of how Ross does things, and you can plan out your electives. So if you know you're going to move or you want to move to do your non-affiliate, if there's a space in the calendar where there's a week off, it's going to make it really easy to move around. That's when I planned my move from Maryland to Florida. I had like a week off to do that, and then moving back to Chicago, I had another week off to do that. So we have a comment here. Thanks for this. It's talking about tokens for the 2025 season. Let's see here. Please note you can no longer use ECFMG's OASIS to request a token. Program request, you submit an ERS application. You don't already have a token, please call blank, blank, blank. I don't know anything about this. I'm sorry, I can't provide additional information on it because I purchased my token through the OASIS. I did it early. I did it in June before they transferred everything over. Let's see. So when best thing I can tell you right now is when they get closer to June, Ross is going to send you an email on what to do to get your token and where you have to go. That's the OCA office. And ECFMG's website will also be updated. So like I said, things change a lot, and sometimes it's very quickly. ECFMG is trying to integrate its new service in the middle of 2024 match season. They decided it was a good idea to implement the service like right before match process started or something like that. So everything went down. It was a huge mess. Or right before the application season, it was a huge mess. Students couldn't access things. Residencies couldn't access things, so they reverted back, and so they're stair-stepping it in. So maybe that's part of it. Sorry, I couldn't answer that question. Let's see. We get to another one in the chat before I get the hand. How early in advance would you plan your elective schedule? Do you have to wait until June to see what electives are offered and what time? If you want to schedule electives through the Ross portal, yes, you have to wait until June. That's because of the way that it opens up for you to schedule. Everything will be open, and then everyone who is in the 10th semester gets first access. So I don't know how many students that is. They will go in and schedule everything that they want. And so depending on where you are in June in your clinical weeks completed is when you'll get access to it in that 2-week period. So you won't know what's available until it opens up for you. So you kind of have to wait. Go ahead, I see we have a hand raised. Is it Lucero? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. You are muted if you're trying to talk, so I can't hear you. Okay. I'll just continue on in the chat until you go ahead and speak up and interrupt me whenever you can.
Ryan, he's asking if you can schedule your electives before you finish cores. He wrote it in the chat because his mic's not working.
At this time, if you were to finish your cores this month, you could schedule your electives for June and July, I think. I think you can schedule those now. It opens up in June, but I think it only lets you schedule August I think. I'm not sure. It's been over a year since I've done this. I'm sorry, it's been a year and a half since I've done this. So I think that it opens in June, lets you schedule all the way to next June. So there is like a time period to where, like, if you finish your cores and it's after this thing has opened up, you can go ahead and schedule it. If you finish your cores in January, you can schedule your electives for February, March, April, May, all through that. You don't only have to schedule your stuff in June. That's just when everything refreshes. All right. Did you get any letters from elective rotations? I did get letters from my elective rotations. Trying to think which ones Most of my strongest letters came from my core rotations. One of them was from an elective rotation that was done at my core site. But I really made the contact and the connection during my course to that attending. But I did collect some elective letters from electives. They're really good to get, especially if you go do a sub-I rotation or audition rotation. It's the same thing. There's also for emergency medicine, if you're applying to that, you will need to get what's called a standard letter evaluation, and I think maybe OB-GYN does it as well. You will hear people call it a SLO. There is a system for that. I'm not familiar with it. I just know that for emergency medicine, you need a SLO, and it's best if it comes from a place that has residents, where it's an academic SLO. I see that someone responded and linked the elective guide in the chat. Thank you for that. Let's see. Did you only schedule away electives at places you wanted to match at? I think I'm a weird person to ask that because I bounced around the East Coast. That was part of my goal. So I did schedule like an audition rotation at a place in Indiana and in Virginia so that I would be, more than just a name on the paper. Of course, like I said, I'm not sure if it mattered because I didn't match at those places. I did match my number 2 place. The one in Virginia was my number 1 place. But I think in general, it's a good idea to do an away rotation at a place that you want to match at. Put your face there. They get to work with you. They get to see who you are. Let's see. Can you give an example of what a medicine elective are versus non-medicine electives? Yeah, that's actually a really good question. And I meant to talk about it when I mentioned it earlier, but I forgot. So you can find what I'm about to say on the RUSM clinical website as well. But in the medicine realm of electives, it includes things like emergency medicine, cardiology, endocrinology, nephrology, anything kind of like that can kind of fall under internal medicine. And then even anesthesia is included in it. So let's see here. Let's do electives. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see this. Let me do that. Share window. So this is the electives page on the RUSM clinical website. Throw it in the chat here for everybody. I know this says fall 2024 elective scheduling guide. That's the one that's up to date. That's where you can go to find it. And then if you come down here, you can see 8 weeks of internal medicine electives. Sorry, I had it flipped. It's 8 weeks of internal medicine, 10 weeks. So electives that fall in cardiology, critical care, community medicine, dermatology, emergency medicine, GI, HEMOC, infectious disease. Like these are the specific ones that Ross actually put in the student handbook. Like I said down here, it's important to know that you can double dip in these. So if you do, like I did a critical care, a cardiac critical care elective that was ACGME accredited. So that was 4 weeks long and it counted for both the ACGME accredited and the internal medicine, or the internal medicine elective, sorry. No, it's question in the chat, is a sub-I / audition a required thing? No, it's not required. It's recommended that you do one, just because, as I was saying earlier, when you go into these, it has a different expectation from you, and it lets that person evaluate you as an incoming resident, maybe. And if you go do one and you get a letter of recommendation from that, it will potentially carry more weight than what a letter of recommendation from just like your normal family medicine core clerkship would if you want to match into family medicine. If it was written by not the program director where you did your course, for example. So I don't know if it's definitely recommended. It's not a requirement. I'll leave it at that. How many do you need? It's up to you. I know people who did internal medicine that did like 3 or 4 of them. I know people in internal medicine that did 1 or 2 of them. So one more question in the chat. When should we ideally take OET? You can take OET whenever you want. I say take it earlier in the year. You can take it now if you want. I think it's good for 2 years. I think the deadline to take OET and to guarantee that you will be cleared for to participate in match is December 31st. I think it's the end of the year. You can take it after that, but there's no guarantee from OET that they will be able to process your information in time to make sure that you will match. So that's the quote unquote deadline. Again, you can take it whenever you want. You just got to make sure that they can process it in time. The longer you wait into the end of the year, the fewer and fewer spots there's going to be, because that's just how everyone is. When it gets closer, everyone's like, it's on their mind. They realize that they haven't done it yet. And so all the testing spots start to fill up. So I think I took mine in September or October just because I was like, let's get it out of the way and I don't have to worry about it. You also want to make sure that you leave yourself enough time to where if you need to retake it, you can retake it and not have your back up against the wall of making sure you can match or not. There are plenty of people who are native US speakers who fail the test because they don't plan appropriately, they don't know the format, and then they go in and they fail the test. So the failure doesn't pop up on anything. It is just ECFMG requirement. The OET is mandatory for all ECFMG people who have their certification. Like, it's a requirement for the ECFMG certification, so everyone has to do it. US schools don't have to do it. And Lauren has your hand up. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks Ryan for hosting this. I just had a question about non-affiliates. I have a couple in the works right now because I'm also trying to apply EM, so there's not a ton of EMs who offer SLOs that are affiliated, so I'm like in that process, but I have a couple just in my elective schedule right now just to like fill the space because I'm sort of on a time crunch. Is that going to affect, like, if those non-affiliates do come through, is me having those like safety net ones in there in my schedule going to affect my ability for them to like approve the non-affiliate? Does that make sense?
So you're saying you have some electives that are already on your schedule and you're working on getting these non-affiliates? Is that right?
Yeah, and I would replace the ones that I have on my schedule with the non-affiliates because those are preferred. But I don't know if having them on my schedule is going to be like, they're going to be like, oh no, you can't do this because it's already on there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You already have something scheduled. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So when you do a non-affiliate rotation, the good thing about that is that you only work through one person. It's Carlos. So you don't work through like clinical advising where you can call in and get like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 different people that you talk to. Carlos is the only one that does it. So you contact him. You still email clinical advising, but all those emails get forwarded to him for him to do the non-affiliate stuff. So that's the good thing, is that he's the one who does it. And I think if you explain to him like what you're doing, like, hey, I'm doing this here for this time. If it gets approved, I'm dropping this elective. And then I think he can make those changes for you. It's a conversation to have with him and make sure that you two are on the same page.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? We still got 9 minutes left. Happy to answer anything else you guys have. Anything else you guys want to see? Do you want to see inside the ERAS application? See what it looks like before you get there. Yes, no. Okay. See, we have a question here in the chat for letter recommendation request during cores. Just a little confused where to get the sent or what to do with them, since we're not applying yet on ERAS. Okay, well, that's a good question. So if you're asking for a letter of recommendation during your cores, they understand that the timing is not ready for them, but you're asking for it now in person instead of like sending an email later, which I think is always better if you can. If you have to send an email, it's not the end of the world, but it's always good to ask in person. Say, hey, would you mind writing me a letter of recommendation? Everyone I've ever asked has been like, yeah, sure, I'll write it for you. Just make sure that you email me when the time comes up. And then when you email them, you want to email them. And some people want some things like the OB-GYN that I did. He wanted my CV, he wanted my resume, and he wanted my personal statement. The guy who wrote my surgery one, he wanted my personal statement, my CV, he wanted my transcripts. So he wanted a lot, which I gave to him when it was time. He said, when it's time, email me this, which is kind of his reminder as well. So go ahead and ask for them now. They have the expectation that they're not going to write them right now. They're going to write them closer to ERAS season and when it opens up to when you can upload them. So, Lauren, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Sorry, that was still raised from before.
Okay. All right. I saw another hand, but they took it down. I think that it was Amanda. I think she put it in the chat. This might be too specific, but if we're applying to a specialty that has a separate application like OB-GYN, if we also apply to ERAS, how does that work? That's a good question because this also affects emergency medicine going into 2026 match. OB-GYN and emergency medicine both use residency CAS, which is a different application service. Anesthesia was trialing out, what was it called? It was another application service. It doesn't matter. It blew up on itself and didn't do well. But the point is, if you need to dual apply and you're using two application services, it's done through ECFMG. You have to go there. There's a form you fill out, and there's a fee you have to pay. You have to fill the form out and pay the fee first before ECFMG will do anything. And then it's like $70 or $75 or something like that. And then they will put all of your information in the other application service. Now, when I say all your information, it is just all the normal stuff that they upload to ERAS, which is your transcripts, your MSPE, the stuff that the school sends ECFMG. They will not migrate over any of your personal information. You have to take care of all that on the other application platform. So that's actually a really good question. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm answering the question in the chat. It says, can they see that we're applying to both specialties? I'm not sure because I've not used those other platforms. And what I mean is I don't know if there's a section in there that says, you know, click here if you're applying to, if you're using another application system or anything like that. If there is, then they might know. In general, I know that when you apply through ERAS and you dual apply, they don't really know that you're applying to two different specialties unless you apply to two programs that are at the same hospital. Then it increases the chance that the program directors will talk, and then they might find out. I've heard some like horror stories of that happening where example is a guy who was interested in doing surgery, wanted to do surgery at this one specific hospital, but he was really interested in IM. But if he could do surgery at this place, he would do it. So he applied internal medicine at the same hospital, which was his #1 choice, but then also applied surgery. But then he ended up not getting either one of those at his #1 choice because the program directors saw that he applied to both. That's a very rare thing. I also feel like if you're applying to a competitive specialty, and what I mean by competitive is where there are some specialties that there are just not enough spots to go around. OB-GYN has become very competitive. Anesthesia is very competitive. Diagnostic radiology, very competitive. Derm, like I'm naming off some ones that are highly, highly competitive. For example, internal medicine, family medicine. Well, family medicine had 800 spots go into SOAP. Internal medicine had, I want to say, 300 go into SOAP, 300 or 400 go into SOAP. Surgery had hundreds go into SOAP. So that's, if you compare those to the other ones that I just told you that were competitive, anesthesia had one position go into SOAP and it was a PGY2 position. Diagnostic radiology had one go into SOAP. OB-GYN had, I think, 12, maybe not even 12, maybe less than that go into SOAP. So that's what I mean by competitive. The match works for them. They fill up their spots before SOAP. So hope that answered your question. Kind of went on a little side quest for a moment. I told you I would show you what ERAS looks like. Let me stop sharing that and share this one. So this is where you go to sign in. It's the AAMC. You sign in. Oh, it wants me to secure my account. 1 second here. There you go. It made me finally set up two-factor authentication. I tried for a long time not to. So this is what the dashboard looks like. When you log in, your picture will not be here. You have to upload your picture. This will be your ERAS headshot. The CSGA is going to continue to try to put on the ERAS headshot event next term. So be on the lookout for that. There's some places that students were happy with it, some they weren't happy with it. We all use professional photographers except for one place, and that's not the place where people were unhappy. So generally the photos are good. And ultimately they don't really matter. It's just to help put a face with a name. So the application, I can't show you the actual application because once it opens up to programs, or once you submit it, it's locked and you can't change it anymore. I can show you personal information. It's kind of what it looks like. And in general, the application will kind of look like this, to where you have something on the side, which is a menu, and then you have your input boxes over here. And so you go through and then you input all your information on here. This is your documents, personal statements. This is where you would upload your personal statements, and then you can see here, you can see I was the one applicant that applied, the one US IMG applicant that applied to the Johns Hopkins Anesthesia EM program. I did not get an interview, but I said, why not throw my hat in the ring? You're going to upload all this stuff here. Letters of recommendations. You can see I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters of recommendations. I didn't use them all. This is where you upload the, well, you don't upload this, what I'm about to say, the USMLE transcript, the MSPE, the medical school transcript, that is all uploaded and by Ross. The ECFMG status report, also, you do not upload that. That's automatically uploaded. You have to upload the photo here. That's all you have to upload there. And then programs, you can search programs. This is what it looks like. So whatever you're interested in, you just search. Let's look at anesthesiology. These are all the programs that are taking applications. You can see here that this is checkbox because I've already applied there. And then there's going to be another, once you actually apply, there'll be a box to where you can set your signals and stuff. So That's it. Let me see if I got questions from that. Any questions on that? One last call for any questions before we end it.
Question for you, Ryan. So you had a total of 9 letters of recommendations. When it comes to applying, how do you know which letters to, I guess, to submit, and like, how do you make that decision, I guess?
I had 9 letters, really, mostly because I dual applied. I applied anesthesia and emergency medicine. And so I had to make sure that I had a good mix of letters to satisfy what I thought emergency medicine was looking for versus anesthesia. So I also had to meet the requirements for emergency medicine, which means I needed 2 SLOs, 2 standard letters of evaluations. And then I also had to meet the requirements for anesthesia, which most schools required at least 2 letters of recommendations to be from anesthesiologists. So that's 4 of the letters right there. And the other ones I just got because I thought it would be good. So I got one from a general letter of recommendation from family medicine from a assistant program director. And then I used that for almost all of my emergency medicine one.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. We'll go ahead and end it here. Again, this recording is available on the website. And if you have questions, feel free to reach back out. Thanks.